She was only 15, walking down a street she had known all her life. No warning, no reason, just a normal day. Then the words came, sharp and cruel, cutting deeper than any blow could. In that moment, everything changed. It wasn't just an attack on her. It was a reflection of a world that refuses to see her worth. How does someone survive when the very society meant to protect them turns its back? This is her story, and what happened next would shock everyone who thought they knew the truth.
It was a quiet afternoon, the kind that felt ordinary, but carried a hidden weight. Maya, 16, was returning from school, her backpack swinging lightly over her shoulder, earbuds in, lost in the music she loved. Her neighborhood was familiar, each corner and cracked sidewalk etched into memory. She greeted the few neighbors she passed, smiling like always. Life felt simple, safe even, until the glances started. At first they were subtle. A smirk here, a whisper there. Something in the air shifted, a tension she couldn't name yet. Something was coming, and she was about to learn how fragile safety could be.
Maya's footsteps quickened as she turned onto the familiar street, her earbuds still playing a faint melody that now felt almost mocking. The whispers grew louder, closer, voices curling around her like smoke. At first, she thought it was just a group of kids messing around, but the stares weren't playful. They were sharp, calculating, and cold. Her heart began to pound. A group of boys from a nearby street stepped forward, blocking her path. "You don't belong here," one sneered, his words slicing through the quiet afternoon. Maya swallowed hard, trying to steady her breath, her mind racing for a way out. She felt every eye on her, their gazes heavy, judging, condemning. The music in her ears was drowned out by the pounding in her chest. She took a step back, her instinct screaming that this wasn't a mistake. Something was deliberately being done, and she was caught in the center. She tried to pass, but they shifted, encircling her like predators closing in. "Think you can just walk by?" another voice jeered. Fear clawed at her throat, but anger flickered too, a defiant spark she hadn't felt before. Maya refused to let them see her shake. She gritted her teeth, searching for an escape, but the street seemed smaller, tighter. Every turn and corner familiar, yet suddenly alien. A sudden shove sent her stumbling into a trash can. Papers flew into the air, swirling around her like a storm, mocking her helplessness. She caught herself on the curb, staring at them, trying to find words. But nothing came. The laughter around her grew louder, crueler. Maya's mind raced. Who could she turn to? Who would see her and intervene? The answer felt painfully clear. No one. Then, from across the street, a neighbor's dog barked. The boys paused for a fraction of a second. It was enough. Maya seized it, darting between the closest pair, her legs moving faster than she thought possible. She didn't look back, but the jeers followed her, echoing, threatening to swallow her whole. Her breath burned in her chest, her heart hammering like it wanted to escape. Every instinct screamed danger, yet she pressed on, propelled by sheer survival and the realization that this wasn't just a random attack, it was a statement. Somewhere in the chaos, a voice shouted, not at her, but at them. "Hey, leave her alone!" Maya froze, hope and fear colliding. She turned just enough to see who had intervened, and what she saw made her blood run cold. The confrontation wasn't over, it had only escalated, and the stakes were higher than she could have imagined. Maya's chest burned as she skidded to a stop in the middle of the street, her legs trembling. The group of boys had regrouped, their faces twisted in rage, blocking every escape. One of them stepped forward, fists clenched, and the mocking sneer on his face made her stomach drop. Time slowed, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in her ears. She realized then There was no turning back. "You think you can just run?" the boy spat, voice dripping with contempt. Fear surged, but beneath it, a fierce, raw determination ignited. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was standing against every insult, every whispered word that told her she didn't belong.
One shove, sharp and unexpected, sent her stumbling to the pavement. Pain shot through her arm, but she pushed herself up, eyes locking on the tallest boy. Her mind raced. She could scream, plead, fight, but none of it seemed enough. The crowd of nearby onlookers had frozen, silent witnesses to the cruelty, their hesitation amplifying her isolation. And then it happened, a moment suspended between terror and defiance. Maya's gaze met the leader's, unflinching. She refused to bow, refused to let the world see her broken. Every ounce of fear was replaced by courage she hadn't known she had. A sudden burst of movement, she dodged, she ran, she turned the momentum of their aggression against them. Chaos erupted, a bag fell, papers flew, a shout pierced the air. For a heartbeat, everything held still. And in that pause, Maya understood something vital. This confrontation wasn't just physical. It was a challenge to the very idea that she could be dismissed, ignored, or erased. The street had been their battlefield, but she had found her own strength in the midst of it. And just as she thought she might make it out, the leader's eyes locked on hers, a silent promise that this was far from over.
Maya finally reached the safety of her home, heart still racing, hands trembling as she closed the door behind her. The street outside had returned to its quiet rhythm, but she knew nothing would ever feel the same again. Every glance, every whisper, every shove, it had left a mark far deeper than bruises could show. She had survived, but the experience had carved a lasting awareness into her soul. The world could be cruel, unfair, and blind to the pain of those it deemed different. Maya's story became more than a personal struggle. It became a quiet defiance, a challenge to the world to see her and others like her fully. Every step she took afterward was a statement that fear would not dictate her life, that her worth could not be questioned, that change begins with acknowledgement. And as she looked out the window one evening, watching children play without knowing the battles waiting for them, a question lingered. How many more would face what she faced before someone truly intervened? How many stories like hers remain unheard, hidden behind closed doors and unspoken glances? Her journey didn't end with fear. It ended with a resolve to stand, to speak, and to demand a world where no one's safety or dignity is assumed but guaranteed. The question now is not just hers, it's ours. What will we do when the next story unfolds in our streets?